everybody. Hi, it's me, Jennifer Stenhouse from Little Metal Foxes, and it is Tuesday, September 14th, and it is time for Tool Talk. We're doing it early for the next few weeks because Julia and I are back to regular teaching gigs. I'm going to be doing teaching in, oh, hi, Julia. And yeah, so Julia's around. Hello there. And we've got, let's see, we're going to have Helen join me today. And let's see, let's have Helen join us live from London. Absolutely. Yeah, let's see what Helen's been up to. So, yeah, I'll be teaching at Pratt Fine Arts Center this evening. And we've got, hi, casting going on, so I'm very excited about that.
Hello.
And Helen's joining us live from London. Hi, Helen. How are things in the UK?
Very good. Very good. It was a lovely rainy day today, so
Was it?
Yay.
All right. Well, cool. And you're getting your studio all set up?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
So exciting. Tell me about how that's going. Tell me about the binding the studio and what it's like. And so, for those people that are doing it again or setting up their studios, what is that like there?
Yeah, so what I did is I started looking on Craigslist. I started looking on just, Google for art spaces. They actually have a very similar, or if it's the same site, a service that's in Seattle that they have one for here. So you can kind of see where the kind of art studios are. And
Oh, yeah.
There's one site called Gumtree. And that's where I found my studio that people had advertised. Gumtree is a lot like Craigslist.
Okay.
So I found that, went and interviewed, looked at the space, and the price is right, the size was good, the location was great, and the people were. The owners are so nice, so nice.
Are there other metalsmiths in the building, or who else is in the building with you?
There are not. There's a writer. There's a muralist. There's a vintage clothing person. There's a florist.
Wow.
And the owner is actually an architect. So there's lots
is that me, or what is that?
Oh, I'm sorry. That's Donald. He's cooking. Sorry.
Oh. Hi, Donald.
It's kind of hard because the kitchen's just right over there. And,
yeah.
I don't have a good place to. Our furniture finally arrives next week.
Fantastic.
So that's the only place I have to sit is right here.
Oh my gosh, there have been some trials and tribulations moving into this new place.
There have.
So yay! Thankfully, getting all that and getting set up in your new studio space. I'm so excited. And you just got a new kiln, right?
I did.
Yay.
Yeah, and so that was the other thing, is trying to find all the suppliers over here. Now, I already knew of glass suppliers from being in the glass business for so long,
right?
And also being a staff member at the Glass Art Society. So I knew about where to get my kilns, but I didn't know where to get my jewelry supplies. So I did a quick search, and I found Cooks on Gold and H.S. Walsh & Sons. And they both actually have brick and mortar stores that were very close to where we were originally staying. And it's close. It's like literally right around the corner from where Donald works. So
great.
That was really handy. So I've got my little Smith torch purchased, and because the gas has different plugs, I couldn't take mine with me, and also with my Fordham, I had to get a new one because, the whole electrical plug thing. So I'm still waiting on my Fordham. That's coming in next week as well. And
Fantastic.
But my kiln is already here, and
Great.
I'm so excited. So
Yay.
The two glass places, just so people know, the main ones are Creative Glass Guild and Warm Glass UK. And there's a Warm Glass in the U.S. website, but this one's actually Warm-Glass, not Warm Glass, one word.
Right.
At any rate, so my kiln, I had to decide. So I know you have a Paragon like SC2 or whatever model is, the little blue one for enameling. And I
Right.
had to decide whether I wanted to go the small route, because I still wanted to be able to just plug it in, considerations
Right.
for my studio, because I was pretty sure they wouldn't let me, like hot wire a kiln directly into the building.
Yeah. 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 Don't do
So
that.
I had to find which one I could, actually plug in. And so my other options were a little bit bigger, like a 14-inch kiln. And I opted to go with the 14-inch kiln because it would give me the biggest range. Because, the SC2s, the Paragons are, 8 by 8 by 8, essentially. They're little
Right.
squares, which would have worked. I really could have made it work. But, with some of the projects that I'm planning on, I needed a bigger one.
Right.
And why did I get a new flex shaft? Because of the power adapters. Because they look like this.
Yeah. So it's
This
just
is
easier.
for the Macintosh. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just easier, and
Exactly.
the power difference is like 220 versus 120.
Oh.
U.S.
Hi,
is like
Nicholas.
120, and
Nicholas is out there. Yep, sorry.
UK is usually around 220.
Right.
So there was that, and knowing that even with getting a bigger kiln, I could still do, enameling, PMC,
Right.
my glass work. If I really wanted to, I could do some casting.
Right.
There's lots of things that can be done with
Well,
each kind of
yeah.
kiln.
Yeah, and I know you and I have talked a lot about just the benefits of having a kiln in your studio, and I know for
Yeah.
small studios there are it can be a little intimidating because it's like I'm not planning on doing any casting, and
Mm-hmm.
or I'm not planning on doing any enameling in my studio, and it's one of those things that for a small studio can be incredibly versatile, and there's more to it than just doing casting or enameling, right? So I know
Yeah.
I've got mine actually was about a $600 kiln. It was it was sort of a medium range kiln for the studio, and it is a programmable kiln, which for
Yes.
me I found was incredibly helpful. It came already preset because it's a PMC kiln for PMC burnouts, so for precious metal clay. And precious metal clay, for those of you who don't know, is it's like a wet clay with a cellulose binder in it with microns of silver or bronze or gold, and you can model it just like you can wet clay, put it into the kiln, burn out the cellulose binder, the metal fuses together, and it gives you a little clay-like piece, but it's metal. So that came pre-programmed for that use. I use mine at work. Yep, Julie was saying heat hardening is another one. Yes. So at
Yes.
work, I ended up taking mine to baleen because we had a very small kiln with a dial set. And so we were using that small kiln for doing heat hardening for silver as well as gold fill, both of which heat harden at 572. Write that down, people. That's Fahrenheit. 572 Fahrenheit for 1 hour, like 45 minutes to 1 hour at 572. And that actually heat hardens your metal for you. So when I take mine out of the kiln, I will repickle it and then tumble it, and it looks great. And so for things like loops and wires that can be a little bit, after you solder them, it's all annealed and really super soft. So for little, the ends that can be a little wangly, and you don't want them, you want to harden them, but you don't want to hammer them. Heat hardening is a
Right.
great way to go. So for production use, it is brilliant to be able to do that. But yeah, there's so many other options. But the nice thing is about having the programmable kiln there is that I could set it for 572, walk away for an hour, and I know that it's going to hold it at 572 rather than sitting there and babysitting it for, however long. And I've been doing casting for a long time, and casting burns out, casting burnouts ramp up slow, and then you hold it there for a certain amount of time, and then it drops down so that you can cast it at a different temperature. So having something that's programmed, that you can set up the kiln to cook it at different times for specific periods really makes your work a little more efficient, effective, and and you can use the kilns for enameling as well. I would not recommend using your casting burnout kiln for enameling.
Yeah.
A lot of enamelists are like, no, but
because
I know
it probably
people
leaves a
I know
residue.
people that do.
Yeah.
It can, and if you are steaming out your waxes and being immaculate about your kiln, you can do it, but you want to make sure that you're not getting any carbon soot and things like that in the kiln for those things. However, there are a couple of different types of kilns besides being manual or analog or programmable, and a lot of that is the interior of the kiln as well, and the way that it opens. So there's different door types, and for most jewelry applications, for things like enamels and for casting and things like that, usually the door is front opening, and the front opening will usually go sideways, but it can also go up.
Yeah, just like a regular door, or it has like a guillotine type.
Yeah, or it can go up or down, just depending on who makes it. The thing you want to be careful about is that if the door is, when it's opening, you want to make sure whatever programmer, and you can buy programmers separately as well, that the programmer's not on top of your kiln.
Yeah.
Because that'll completely throw off your readings on what the temperature is on your kiln, and you can burn up your digital programmer.
Your controller.
Your controller. So it can mess that up. So make sure wherever your controller is, if it's built in, it's usually below or on the side. But if you have one that you can plug in, which is great. So if you have an old kiln and you want to, you don't want to have to sit there and babysit it forever, you can get a programmer that you can, or a controller that you plug your kiln into and set it, and then it will run on the program. Yeah. So that's really helpful.
Those usually are the most expensive part. That's why you'll see a regular dial kind of kiln for $300, but the next one up is $800. It's because that controller is about $500 or so, $600.
Yeah,
but it is
and they've gotten a lot more
worth
affordable.
The money.
Yeah, they've gotten a lot more affordable. Mine was about $600, including everything to get it to me.
Yeah.
So I would with Little Metal Foxes, you get a discount with Rio and with Peppy Tools as well.
Yay!
So that's a good way to go. Or if you have a pro account, with one of those places, or find a coupon, get a discount code, and find the kiln that you need. Your kiln's a little bit different though. It opens from the top, right?
Yeah, I've got a top loading because I'm going to be doing a lot of fusing glass, which is how I kind of. It's been woven into my jewelry story. So I started out with PMC and then got into glass because of PMC. And then I got back into jewelry, and now I'm, getting them merged together. And so I got because I want to do vessels and multiples of glass pieces, I wanted something that was a little bigger than the Paragon, but also still had to keep in mind that it needed to be of a sufficient power to just plug in.
Right.
So, and still reach the temperatures that I want. So when I'm doing fused glass, my top temps are about 1,500 degrees Fahrenheit, and although a lot of my work is around 1,300 that I do, so it's sort of like pot de verre, which is you're taking granules of glass and sintering them together. Yeah. Not necessarily doing the full fuse. So I still keep a lot of the grainy texture.
Right.
And so that's one of the things that I had to think about. But also because I know how to do PMC and kind of thinking about some of the things that I could now go back to, it's still a really good kiln for PMC. The only other thing that I have to think about is that because silver will stain the kiln shelf, right? I have to just make sure I have two kiln shelves. One for glass and one for the silver. And because it'll leach into the glass whatever I put on top.
Yeah, and any of these kilns can be used for, any of these processes.
Yes.
Is some more
Yes.
effectively than others, or more efficiently than others. The top loading kilns are usually, for things like ceramics and for glass, because they're going to hold the heat in there for a long time. And a lot of times you're letting it cool down all the way before you
Yes.
take everything out. And with a lot of the jewelry processes, you actually want to like take it out and maintain the heat in the oven. So if you're doing something like enameling, or casting, and you've got several flasks in the kiln, you don't want to let all the heat out at 1500 degrees, or at 1250,
Right.
and then have to have the kiln come back up to temperature. And that can be hard on casting flask on your investment, when you're like crashing the kiln and then uh, having to warm it
Yeah.
back up again.
Yeah.
So you
And
lose
it
a
takes
lot of
practice,
heat
but yeah.
with the
Yeah.
door. But you can use it for both, and some of those are adaptable with a little draw front, where you can do like for annealing
Yes, you
beads.
can get like a
So
bead door,
yeah,
which
and the
could be
bead
used
door
for
works
enameling.
great. Yeah, bead door
Yeah.
works great for
And
enameling and for other stuff too. So beads.
yeah, and
Hmm.
because my kiln actually has not only top elements but side elements.
Yeah.
It's great for casting, because I can switch between the two, or I can do a
Oh, nice,
combo of the two.
nice.
So it probably would help if, when doing investment type things, that I have the side elements, kind of keeping things a little more temperature stable, even
Right.
though I'm opening the top. But you still, that's, you get to know your own kiln
Yeah.
and know how it works and test it out, and, think about all these things before you get one. It's like, what
Yeah.
am I doing? What am I, what can I do? What do I want to try and experiment with?
Right.
And, there's
Right. And
just so many, I
having
mean, such a
multiple
handy
kiln
tool.
shelves, yeah, having multiple
Yes.
kiln shelves, like you said, can make a big difference. One of the things that not a lot of people sort of know about kilns right off the bat is that you want to usually do like a kiln wash on the inside and keep them swept out and
Mm-hmm.
clean, and
Mm-hmm.
for a multitude of reasons. But there are a couple of different, before we get to that, there are a couple of different, like inside the kiln things that are important to know if you're looking at
Yeah.
kilns to purchase. For some of the kilns, they have exposed coils. And
Mm-hmm.
especially for things like ceramic
Your
kilns,
heating
where
elements. Yeah.
your heating elements are exposed. And the heating elements for the exposed ones, it's easier to replace them if they, go bad. And that's done a lot with like ceramic kilns, and the production kiln that we had where I was doing production casting had
Yeah.
exposed kiln coils, and the elements on the inside every now and then burn out, and you could like
Mm-hmm.
take it, unscrew it, take one out, put a new one in, and those can be great, but for casting especially, one of the problems is that you've got potentially a lot of soot and stuff, and depending on how big a
And
burnout you're
moisture.
doing, you've got
Mm-hmm.
moisture and soot, and from the wax that's burning out, and all the dust from the investment, gets in there as well. So you've got these exposed kilns that are exposed to all of that, and sometimes open
Yeah.
flame, because if the wax is burning out, you've got open flame around those coils. And it works great just knowing that you're going to have to replace them,
Yeah.
sometimes on the regular. But
Yeah.
there, there are, other kilns where the elements are inside the kiln bricks, and they're built into like the bonnet that goes inside the kiln.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're a little more protected, and you don't have as many problems with them burning up as you would with the exposed coils or
Mm-hmm.
elements. So what do you have? I know that I've replaced several elements with the exposed ones, but I've never had a problem with the ones that are internal. They seem
I've
to
had
last a lot
my
longer
pins
for
drop
me.
out, but I've not really had to replace any of the coils for
Hmm.
any of mine. However, I expect my one, because I have the same brand. I have an Olympic kiln. That was my first programmable kiln,
Right.
and I've had that one for like 10 years, and I haven't had to replace anything yet. So once I get back to the States, I would bet that it's going to start going But I have had to replace like the relay on I had a Scut 14 by 14 or 1414, which is a big coffin kiln. So it's like 39 by 22, I think, on the inside, and it was like 13 inches deep. So yeah, we could have buried a body in that thing. But I did have to replace the relay on that. It's like I was firing, and it got up to temperature, and it wasn't going. It went to this one temperature and stayed there. And I was like, okay, something's wrong because it's not getting hotter and it's not getting cooler. Yeah. So I just had to turn it off and call to get somebody to come in and repair it. It wasn't bad. It was still covered under warranty, actually.
That's good. Because sometimes if you've got two elements in the kiln, if one burns out and it's like, oh my God, I'm trying so hard to get up to temperature, and you're like, what's going on in there? Because it's not holding temperature properly. And you look in and you realize like one is like blazing red and the other one's not doing anything. And sometimes you see a little break in the coil or the element that you need to replace. You know, there are a lot of times you can get kilns repaired at places like ceramic studios or pottery supply places that have kilns, and they do stuff like that. So, and
the manufacturers, if you call them, they usually have some sort of recommended technician in the area. And, you know, and Scut especially, and Olympic's based in Georgia, and Scut's based in Portland, actually. And two great companies. I mean, they were, you know, very helpful when I was ordering and when I needed the maintenance. You know, just good, you know, call them up. Don't hesitate, you know, if you've got an issue. And I know Paragon is the same way. I haven't actually dealt with them, but from everything I've heard, they're a really great company to work with. And
here in Seattle, we've got Seattle Pottery Supply and Tacoma Pottery Supply that are great for purchasing kilns, but they're also good for doing repairs and maintenance too. So those are both good options. But yeah, you know, it's the other thing that I would definitely recommend as far as like maintenance is concerned is making sure that your just get a shop vac and just vacuum it out before you use it.
Make sure you have a good filtration on it.
Yeah.
Because you don't want all that extra dust flying around, because that's bad.
Yeah. So yes. Dust mask when you go to clean out your kiln. Dust mask, and but get it vacuumed out or I sweep mine out, and then you know if it's exposed coil, I would recommend vacuuming it out so that you get all that stuff out from the little edges that are in there. But kiln wash is the other thing that I think between the inside of the kiln and the shelves, your kiln shelves, if you're using a little bit of the kiln wash, it'll protect the kiln from things sort of sticking to it.
Anything that drops down, and
so it just kind of protects it and keeps it clean, and you could reapply that, and it just helps to protect the kiln. So when you get a new kiln, get some kiln wash and just you know protect it, take care of it, and you know read the instructions that come with it.
Yes.
Get the warranty.
Yes.
And you know, if you are, you know, there are lots of different burnout processes depending on what you're working on, if it's casting or enameling, and you know, all kinds of different, you know, programs. And sometimes that takes a little experimentation with individual kilns. You may find that your kiln, you know, heats up like fast, and you might have to like program it to ramp slower so it doesn't like, you know, crack your investment. So they're little things that you might have to finesse if you're doing something like casting or enameling, or working with glass in general, that you really have to kind of feel out that kiln. And it's, each kiln can be a little
different.
A little different, have its own little personality.
So. Each one, the top temp, even though the controller's saying that's like 1485, but on another kiln it might actually be 1490. You know, that gets you to your visually to the product or the result that you want on whatever you're baking. Yeah. And so you need to test it out. And there are hot spots and cold spots in the kiln itself.
Absolutely.
So you need to test that as well.
Yeah. So a lot of times with the like the front opening doors, it's gonna be cooler in the front than it is in the back. It's gonna be, you know, warmer higher in the kiln than it is lower in the kiln. And so you
Yep.
usually have like these, the hot and cold areas in your kiln that you need to be aware of, especially if you're doing
Yeah, and
like
that's
a
why you have
lot
like,
of burnout, a lot of flask in one kiln.
yeah,
It can make a huge difference because the stuff that's way in the back is going to
yes,
be
yeah.
a lot hotter
The more
than the
stuff you
stuff
have
that's,
in,
yeah,
the longer you have to have it at that hold temperature to make sure everything gets fully
yeah,
saturated with the heat. And one
yeah,
of the things too is that like with the kiln shelf, it's very important not to just place things on the bottom of your kiln without a shelf, but a shelf on stilts, which is called kiln furniture, so
right,
that the heat can circulate all the way around. Now you don't have to have
absolutely.
a lot of space, but you do need to have a good half inch to an inch underneath so that you just get that convection going
Yeah,
inside.
yeah.
And it
It's
just makes sure everything gets heated evenly.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of casters will use grates, like a steel grate to
Mm-hmm.
set stuff up on, and many
Mm-hmm.
times those will have a tray underneath it. So if they're doing like a wax burnout, they'll take it up to,
Yeah.
it's about 325, let the wax burn out, take the tray out so that the wax is not smoking and
Yeah.
burning out, but take out the wax and remove it, and then continue the burnout. And that will save the life of your kiln and your elements on the inside, and
Yeah.
protect the environment a little
How
bit.
hot
So,
do you yeah, how hot do you burn out your investment?
um, typically it goes up to about between 1150 and 1250, depending on
Okay.
the investment. Um, and you usually want to hold it there for about hold it at peak temperature for about an hour per inch of investment. So if you've
Ah,
got
okay.
to the radius, so if you've got
Yeah.
a like a 4-inch flask, you'd want to hold it at peak temperature for about 2 hours to make sure
Mm-hmm.
that the heat saturates to the core. Um, so it's, yeah, or half the diameter basically. So half hour per inch of diameter. But it's, people will like it. There's all kinds of like,
Oh yeah.
variables and leeway and things that you can get away with.
It's the same with
You know,
glass.
yeah. So it's, just some of that's just, playing with it and knowing what you can get away with. But I would definitely recommend that anytime you're making a change like that, or you're trying to sort of experiment with the kiln and see what it'll do, take notes, write
Yes.
it down, because it can be really frustrating if you're not doing it all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and really trying to nail something like, what your burnout program is and how long it's taking, and what peak is doing and how long it takes to get to peak. So if you're
And what
looking
your kiln is doing.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
So but if you're not taking notes and you're relying on just your memory to do that, it's going to be
Mm-hmm.
really hard. So but only
Yeah.
change like one thing at a time so you can track and see what the differences are. A lot of times
Yeah.
people will be like, oh, I'll just change the whole program and see what happens, and it's like, you could, but it's going to give
And
you
it might work.
it's going to give you completely different results, and you won't know why. But if you can,
Yeah.
change like one thing, like your ramp temperature, and then like, write that down, or the speed at which it's going up can make a big difference. And just, one simple thing at a time, doing like scientific equations, when you're
Yeah.
like working on it. But, make notes so that and you can go back and go, okay, for things like burning out, things that have they're organics. Organics have a lot of carbon. Some organics burn out really fast and beautifully if they're mostly water and wax. Other things that are a little bit harder, wood, take a lot longer, and you have to vacuum that stuff out because it's going to leave carbon in your mold. So it's, they're different. You'll figure out, burnout times, when you're working with different waxes or different materials. It can make, a big difference. But
Mm-hmm.
with enamels especially, a variable in a temperature can make a huge difference in how the enamels are coming out, how clear they are, if the color is
Yeah.
is showing up properly, or if you're take it too high and you melt your metal.
Yes.
So, um,
Or you melt everything,
yeah, you melt everything.
and
Yeah,
glass colors can change if they go
yeah,
beyond their designated temperatures.
right.
So there you have to be careful with that kind of stuff. You have to
Yeah,
and take lots of notes.
yeah. And I think for an investment of something like a small kiln in your studio, it gives you so many opportunities to do things
Oh, so many. Yeah.
like heat harden and enamel or glass or, whatever you want to work on. There's
Mm-hmm.
just lots and lots and lots of possibilities. And if you're doing something like granulation or reticulation,
Yeah.
being able to raise your, you can raise a beautiful, perfect depletion gilded piece on bigger things a little more easily in a kiln than you can with a torch. Torch is a little like fiery all the way around, and it's heating things unevenly, but you can get a really beautiful even depletion gild using a kiln rather than a torch.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. So it's
because you could just keep the kiln at temperature, pop it in, pop it out.
That's exactly what you do.
Wow.
And it doesn't take too terribly long to do that. So yeah, if you're doing like several pieces that you're going to be doing, that you just want to raise that fine silver surface, it can be a real easy way to go, especially if you're doing, production or kombu, or if you're doing granulation. So all those things can help out a lot. So the kiln can be a really useful and practical piece of equipment in a small studio as well as large ones.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people are like, oh, I'm scared, and ventilation could be an issue. So you want to make sure you've got proper ventilation for the kiln, that you're, making sure you're not putting it in a place where, it's directly under a smoke alarm.
That would be not fun.
Yeah. And you want to make
You'll
sure
have to have that broomstick handy all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Smacking that thing around. But yeah, usually you're going to have ventilation directly over a kiln, or like right above it where it can draw any fumes out from things like enameling or casting, and working on a nice heat-proof surface with a fireproof back behind it. So I know that I like using the tile board that you can get from like Home Depot and places like that. That is a nice.
Yeah, any of your drywall and cement board. It's better for cement board, but they are more heat resistant or fire resistant. I won't go and investigate this yourself. Be educated about it. But having like when I had my coffin kiln, I had a piece of cement board underneath it because it was on, even though it was a good, 12 plus inches over the floor.
Right.
The floor was actually harder pine wood that was, hundreds of years old or 100 years old. So my studio guys wanted to make sure that heat wasn't going to catch everything on fire.
Right.
So having that cement board is perfect.
My sister's here. Hi, Leslie.
Hi, sister.
Hi, Leslie. So having, just being safe, thinking about, where your hotness is around the kiln, just protect the walls and make sure you've got good ventilation. So those things can be, just real simple, go to Home Depot and get some cement board and have that cut so that you can, make sure things are safe and clean and well ventilated. And sometimes the burnouts take, overnight or hours. And so having something like a program can make it easier for you. Do the research and do some reading. But, a simple programmable kiln for like PMC can like change how much stuff you do in the studio overnight. It's a small kiln, they're safe. And some of the PMC kilns have like little windows and that you can like see in and be like, what's happening? And watch your metal fusing together. And those are really helpful for enameling too, because you can see your enamel, that second, and that takes like minutes.
And if you're doing dropouts in glass, you can watch it so you can stop it right when you need to.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, if you have questions about it, ask the distributors, what's what and what they recommend, and definitely look at your power source and see, how much. Make sure you've got the right power.
In the circuit board. Make sure that the circuit will have the right amperage for. Yeah, I think that's the right terminology.
Blowing all your out all your fuses. But check on that too. The other thing I would recommend, because a lot of people are like I'm going to turn it off because I don't want to waste electricity. The thing about those kilns is they're incredibly well built, and they're designed to hold on to that heat. So once they get up to temperature, they're incredibly efficient. So
they actually aren't heating all the time. They actually click on and click off. So they get up to the temperature. It's like if you have an induction stovetop, You know how it gets red and then it turns off, and then it gets red and it turns off. The kilns are the same way, and so they're not going all the time. So they're actually very efficient in the use of electricity.
Yeah, they are.
So you don't have to worry
amazing.
about.
Yeah, it's amazing how well.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll draw a lot of energy at first as
Yes,
they're
on your
ramping
ramp
up to
up.
temperature.
Yeah.
But once you get there and hold it, it stays real warm for a long time. So it actually is more efficient than like a blow dryer when it comes to the energy draw.
Way more efficient.
yeah. So anyway, but yay, kiln talk. Get a kiln. They're
Yay!
awesome. All right. So tell me, what's coming up, Helen?
Oh my goodness! Let me log on to the website real quick.
I'm going to be.
We have
a production class right now, and that has
you
been
are doing
amazing.
a production class.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
But we've got
polishing,
finishing, and polishing demystified is coming up on the 25th, I think, and
yes.
So I know a lot of people have problems with figuring out the overwhelming world of finishing things, and some people finish things in one way, and some people finish things in another, and some people are using tumblers, vibratory tumblers, and some people are using pin finishers. Some people are doing it by hand or using a big buffer, and they're like, there's so many options. What do I do? So it's you have to kind of figure out for yourself which process is going to work for you, what you've got in your studio, work with what you have. But finding that right program or sort of formula to finish your pieces can be very personalized as the pieces are. So that's kind of what we're going to be doing for that workshop, is helping people figure out what finishing and polishing procedures are going to work best for them, and sort of equate them or educate them on the different kinds of tumbling media and different kinds of polishing media and what's out there and how to do that.
And the mops or wheels.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll do that for the finishing and polishing class. I highly recommend that you take it, because I have so many people that are like, I have problems. That's like one of the number one things I hear. It's like, I have problems finishing my work. And I'm like, polishing and finishing? And they're like, yep, I can't get it to the shine that I want. I can't get it to the finish that I want. And it's like, okay, what are you using? And they've been using like the thing that they were told in school. I've used Tripoli and then Rouge, and I can't get it shiny. And it's like, and that's not doing it. I'm like, well, what are you trying to do? And they're like, filigree. And I'm like, oh my God,
Don't use Tripoli with the filigree.
I'm like, no. So I mean, I'm like, no, you don't want to do that. And they're like, well, how? What do I do? So this is a class for those people that are like, I can't get the work finished. I don't know. It's supposed to look one way and I can't quite get it. But anyway, what else is coming up?
We have this weekend actually, and we have 2 spots that we would like to fill for file work rings. This class is, it's a great class, because this is a Julia Lowther class. She is teaching you how to make a really nice chunky ring, and then using your files to create designs on it. And it's so cool. And you can get some really cool stuff to do with just files. Yeah,
she's amazing at this technique. And this is a skill that has been taken from knife making, because they do it along the spine of the knife, usually all the way down the tang, and you can see it inside the handle of the tang. And it becomes a really beautiful decorative process on the steel knives. And it's one that sort of has translated into blacksmithing as well as jewelry design. But this is a great way to get those edges on things like not just your rings, but bracelets and hollowware and sculpture and all kinds of things. And for those people that are doing knives and haven't quite figured out how to do this, it's going to be a good class. Talking about the patterns, talking about the different kinds of files and what's going to give you the best patterns. So it's going to be a good skill building class. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Right.
And then we have recycling scraps and alloys. So I'm reading, my brain's going bark. And so that is always an exciting class. Yeah. That's a Jennifer class. And then we have another jewelry class with Julia, electro etching. Oh my God, I took that class. Oh, There's so much you can do.
Yes, yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So we got a bunch of fun classes coming up, and so yeah, keep your eyes peeled. It's coming.
Yes.
And we've got lots of good things going on. Thanks, Karen. Yay! Karen said she take the class. It's awesome. Not to be missed. Yes. So
Yes.
so join us for that. So like all of our tool talks, this is going to be added to our YouTube channel. So
Yep.
you might be watching this on YouTube. So hello. So make sure you subscribe and ring the bell
And like, subscribe,
share,
and
like,
something, and share something.
ring the
I
bell.
don't know what the standard.
We're new with the YouTube thing, so yeah.
Yep.
But yeah. But if you have any questions about any of our other tool talks, they're all now on YouTube. Thank you, Helen, for doing that. And yeah, I think that'll be really good. So yeah, if you have questions, email us at info@littlemetalfoxes.com. If you are interested in taking classes and you're not sure, you can join us. The classes are all recorded, so you have 30 days to go back and watch the video again if you want to. And you've got time to do that and learn more about it. We've had a lot of people that have wanted to sign up at the last minute, especially this time of year. People are like, I don't know what I'm doing. The kids are going back to school. I'm insane. It's fall, and it's like, oh, there's a class this weekend? Oh, but I don't have the stuff. It's like, sign up, because you can order the stuff later, go back and watch the video again, and that way you can ask questions in the class, and then work on the stuff outside of class. So
and then it also
all the stuff for class.
Email us, info@littlemetalfoxes.com.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a question, is this the class that I want to take to do XYZ?
Right.
And, we are more than happy to help you before, after, and during the class. So
yeah, absolutely.
Just drop us a line.
So cool. Well, it is dinner time, I think, for you there, correct?
It is.
Okay. So have a great dinner in the UK, over there in London. I'm going to have a nice breakfast here in just a minute. So,
I know.
And we're missing you here in the States, but yay! Somebody just signed up for their first class. Yay!
Yay!
So,
Panty Poppet? Is that how you pronounce that? I guess. So thank you. Yay!
Yes, absolutely. We'll see you there. So you guys have a great week. We'll be back next Tuesday with some tool tips. And if you've got things that you would like us to talk about tool tip wise, let us know. You can message us on our Instagram or email us at littlemetalfoxes, info@littlemetalfoxes.com. So yeah. So all right, Helen, it's great to see you as always.
Good to see you too.
Yay. And you have a great evening. And the rest of you that are joining us, thank you very much. And you can go back and watch the rest of the video and us talking about kilns on YouTube or here on Instagram. So, and thanks everybody.
Please, email us if you have any other questions about kilns. We'd love to answer.
Absolutely. You bet. So we'll see you guys later. Bye.
Okay. Bye.